back, grade 7. And this is our last lesson of the year, and it's going to be on graphing rotations on the Cartesian plane. So this is the third of the types of transformations we're going to be doing. And to do this, you're going to need some tracing paper. Now remember, I told you that your tracing paper was to be stored on page 150 in your textbook. This means that whenever we need it, you know exactly where to go to get it. All right. The second one is you're going to need some handouts. Okay. Now the Cartesian plane handouts I've given you allow you to be able to do your assignments and stuff on them without having to recreate them every single time. It's much easier for you. If you want, you can cut them out and you can tape them into your assignments, or if you wish, you can just make sure they're labeled clearly so you can find them when it comes time to review. Now, in grade 6, we learned about rotations. At that time, we called them turns. Now, all rotations, like reflections, have several parts. You have what's called the original image. You have and it's labeled with capital letters. You have the new image, which is labeled with capital letters plus a prime. And then you have the rotation point, which is what you're going to be turning around. Now, the rotation is always going to be given to you as clockwise or counterclockwise. So what does that look like? Let's take a look right here. All right, this is A, B, C. So this is your original image. This is our rotated image, and you can tell that because it's got A prime, B prime, and C prime, which you can't see right here. Now this image has been rotated clockwise. If you imagine the 12 at the top, the 6 at the bottom, 3 on the right, and the 9 on the left, this is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going clockwise. All right. Now, the amount that it turns is going to be given to us in degrees of either 90, 180, or 270. Now, doing 360 would just bring us back to the same spot, so we don't do 360 rotations. Now, let's go and take a look at the other one. Okay, this one right here is the same as the previous one. You'll see I've got A, B, C, so there's my original. And then I've got A prime, B prime, and C prime down there. And this is my rotated image. Now you notice this one's different than the other because this one, the rotation point, is outside of both of our images, where back on our previous one, it was actually one of the points was shared, point C. Okay. So let's take a look at the degrees and the rotations. We're always going to be working with clockwise and counterclockwise. Now, rather than write the word clockwise, you're going to be able to use the word CW, clockwise. Now, for counterclockwise, it's just counterclockwise, CCW. Whenever you do a rotation, you have to give me the direction that the turn is going to be in. And you also have to tell me how far it is. On our next page, you'll see that we're talking about the rotations. We're going to be rotating our images in 90-degree rotations. So it's going to go 90, 180, or 270. Now, you notice that this is clockwise, and all these one on the right-hand side, these are all counterclockwise. So to show a rotation, you have to show me not only how far it goes, 90 degrees, but you have to show me which direction it is. Now remember, this is 12 up here, and this is 3 down here. So we're doing a 90 degrees, and it's going with 12, 1, 2, 3 clockwise. So this turn is a 90-degree clockwise turn. If you go over here and look at this one, you'll notice it's the same 90-degree turn, but we're going in the opposite direction. This is the 12, and this is the 9. So we're going counter to the clockwise rotation, so this one's called 90 degrees counterclockwise. For 180, one thing you should notice right off the bat is that we have right here, that's where that one ends, and over here, look where this one ends, same place. So these two rotations of 180 degrees clockwise and 180 degrees counterclockwise result in the location at the end being exactly the same. So we don't normally tell you clockwise or counterclockwise when we're doing a 180-degree rotation. So here we go. This is going to be, this is a clockwise one because it goes 12, 3, 6. So this is 180 degrees clockwise. This is doing the same amount of a turn, but it's on the opposite side. So this is a 180 degrees counterclockwise. Now here's our 270s. Remember 90, 180, 270. So at 270 degrees, we're going clockwise. So this is a 270 degree clockwise rotation. Over on this side, 90, 180, 270, but it's in the opposite direction. This is counterclockwise. So this is 270 degrees counterclockwise. Now I don't know why the W is there. It should be C to CW. Now you'll notice that in terms of where you end up, right? You'll notice that this one right here, we end up down at this location right here. Right? There's another one down here, if you notice, that ends up in that location too, and that's this one over here. So these two, this one here, 90 degrees clockwise, and 270 counterclockwise, actually end up at the same location. So these 2 degrees give you the same thing. So the reason we do this is because if you were asked to do 270 degrees counterclockwise, it's much easier just to do a 90 degree clockwise one. You'll get to the same location, and you can label it as counterclockwise, but it's easier to do it accurately and not make mistakes. I've already mentioned before that the 180 clockwise and the 180 degree counterclockwise end up at the same location, so we know that these two things are equal. Now, just like up here, we have a 90 degree counterclockwise one. Now this 90 degree counterclockwise one ends up right here, so the other one that ends up there is this one here. So that means 90 degrees counterclockwise and 270 degrees clockwise are exactly the same thing. So again, if you're asked for a 270 degree clockwise rotation, you can do a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation and end up in the same and the proper location. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to get you to do the rotations. You will be needing a piece of tracing paper. Now remember that tracing paper has to be reused over and over, so please don't use a pen on it and try to scribble it out and then move to a different part of the paper, because in the end you're just going to run out of paper. Next thing is, don't press hard. If you press hard on tracing paper, when you erase it, you're going to get shadow lines. And enough shadow lines on your paper will make the tracing paper non-usable. And third thing I want you to do is make sure that when you're doing this, that you erase cleanly. Now, the pencil on the back of your eraser sometimes smudges things, so double check before you use it on your tracing paper. The white Staedtler erasers work fantastic for this if you happen to have them. If not, you know that I've got a selection of them that you can draw, so you can use when you need it. So let's take a look at point A34, and I want to rotate this clockwise 90 degrees. So the first thing I need to do is I have to take and make sure that I plot A in the proper location. Now remember, this is the direction on the x-axis, and this is our x-axis. So we're going to be going 3, so it's going to go over 3. And then it's going to go on the y-axis a positive 4. So there is your y-axis going up to 4. Now this means that this location is 3, 4. And you'll notice it's just a simple A. What we're going to do is we're going to rotate this 90 degrees, and we want it to go around what's called the origin. Now this is the origin right there. The origin is where your x-axis and your y-axis, here's your x-axis and here's your y-axis, it's where these two things intersect. That's called your origin right here. Now, normally it's got a little O. If it doesn't have that and they mention origin, then you're going to have to know you're going to have to know this information. Okay, so let's get rid of this and this. All right, so we now know where A is. It's plotted correctly. You will have, in your notes you only have one grid. I'm going to be doing this on several grids in order to show you all the different steps, so it's easier for you to understand as we go through the video. Now that the 2 points are located, our rotation point and our point A, it's now time to do the rotation of 90 degrees clockwise. So what you need to do, first off, is to take your tracing paper, and I need you to place your tracing paper on top of your grid. There's my tracing paper. The second thing we need to do is we need to draw an X, or a plus sign, through the two origins right here. I said through origins, I meant the two axes. So here's my y-axis, here's my x-axis, and this is my piece of tracing paper. The next thing we need to do is we need to draw on this a point. And I'm going to take this point and I'm going to put it right here. That's my A. So draw right over top of your A. Now, put your pencil, all right, I'm just like I do a little bit of magic here. Okay. Put your pencil on the origin, pick up your tracing paper, and spin it slowly, and we're going to go 90 degrees clockwise. You see how as everything rotates, and eventually it lines back up like this. Now what we've done is we've gone 90 degrees this way, and look at this. Our new point lands at this location right here. Now, looking at this, remember it's x first, y second, so this new location is at 4, -3. Right? Now, to label that, 4, -3, you're going to be putting an A, and then, of course, an A plus on it. That didn't work. Try it again. There we go. See that? Sorry, I said plus, I meant prime. See how I've labeled the point? This is A prime. Okay, just one tick because it's our first rotation. If you rotate a second time from this, and you're rotating from A to A prime, and then going to another location after this, we would label that A prime prime or A double prime. The other thing to note is take a look at the 3, 4, 3, 4, and the negatives here. Notice we have the same numbers. Okay. That's a dead giveaway when you're doing a rotation around the origin. When you do an origin rotation, the numbers are going to move to the other quadrants, but they're not going to change in terms of what the magnitude is, just the direction. Okay, so now we've gone from A to A prime here. Now I want to move this over to here. So the same thing happens. Take a tracing paper, put it on your paper, or on your grid. Take your pen. I gotta get off this so it doesn't disappear. Put a mark on this location. That's where we're going to be working. Next, make sure you put an X here. Sorry, X, I keep saying X. A plus sign on your axis here. You take a look at this now and rotate it, putting your pencil right here. We're going to go another 90 degrees. Now, my program doesn't keep it centered, so I have to move it. But if you look at that, you'll see that we've ended up right where the double prime is. So your rotation works perfectly. Notice that if you're going 180 degrees, everything in quadrant 1 ends up in quadrant 3. This is always going to be the case. If you start here, you'll end up here. If you start here, you'll end up there. All of these rotate 180 degrees, which is 2 90s, which is 2 quadrants. So again, take a look at the numbers here. You'll notice that the -3, -4, we're still working with the same magnitudes. The only thing which is different is we're now having this one here, which is -3, -4. All right? So the numbers change. Sorry, numbers don't change, the signs only change. Okay, next. We're going to do a rotation, one more rotation, and we're going to move it up into the A double prime area. So I want you to stop the recording, and I want you to try to move or do the final rotation. So pause the recording and do that now. All right, here we go. First thing you need to do is take your paper, put it on top of there. Next, you need to take your pen, and you need to mark the point we're going to be doing the rotation on. I'll choose blue. And I'm going to be moving this point here, which is my last point I was using. I'm going to be going from A double prime. I'm going to move it 90 degrees, another 90 degrees. Now it says 270 here because it's starting from here, right? So that's 180. It's a 90, 180, 270. Now take a look at this. I've got my mark here. All right. Next thing I need to do is to take on my pen with my my tracing paper and make sure that I have the plus sign so I know how far I'm rotating. Right. And now I take this and I rotate it another 90 degrees, and if everything is done correctly, it should land right on top of the one that I have there. There you go. Right. So this is actually very easy to do, as you saw. So we've rotated this 90, 180, and 270. Let's go back to the beginning and take a look at how this works out. Here is my, there we go. Things are a little bit moved in terms of distorted on the when I did the program. But give you a rough idea. This one here is the original. If we do a 90 degree turn, it moves it to A prime. which is right there. If we do a 180-degree turn, it moves it to A double prime. If we do a 270-degree turn, it moves it to A triple prime. Remember to label these correctly. Right? Now, again, look at this. You'll see the numbers 4 and 3 are the same. All right, the magnitude never changes, just where they are in terms of positive and negative changes. Okay, we've done a point. Now, let's move on and do an image. So I'm going to try to get you to do this yourself. I'm not going to help you too much, but I will give you some instruction. When you get an assignment, when you get a question, it's going to start one of two ways. They'll either give you the diagram like I've given you here, or they'll give you the 3 points of A, B, and C. And you'll have to plot them first and then do the rotation. Remember that O is the origin. Right? Now, I need you to take this image, ABC, and I need you to rotate it 180 degrees, and as you can see right here, you know from this being whited out that it's pretty obvious where it's going to go to. So pause the recording, and I need you to take and rotate ABC 180 degrees clockwise around point 0. So pause the recording and do that now. Okay, so again, pretty straightforward. First thing you need to do, obviously, is give myself a big, huge tracing paper. And I need to put on my tracing paper. I have to mark on my x-axis. Got to mark my y-axis. All right. And then I have to take and mark A, B, and C. Now, there's several ways of doing this. I usually just take and just put the dots because I know they're going to not work out. But if you have trouble, you can just take and mark an A on top of it. And then go B and mark a B here. And then C and mark a C here. All right. So when you do the rotation, you'll notice that I'm going to go 100, so there's 90, right? And now here's 180. Now again, realigning everything back up on the origin. All right, come on, you silly thing. There we go. And you'll notice that here's my A, there's my B, there's my C. So if I take that, and you'll notice I just click the thing so it'll disappear. You've got A here, where's A right here, see A prime, and then B prime and C prime. So I'll move this out of the way so you can see it. All right. All right. So you can see now, here's my A prime, here's my B prime, and here's my C prime. And notice you draw the triangle, put the lines in, and label them correctly. When I'm marking this, I'm going to be marking probably 4 marks out of this type of a question. I'm going to mark, did you actually locate A prime correctly? Did you locate B prime correctly? And did you locate C prime correctly? And that's your first 3 marks. The 4th mark is, did you label A, B, C primed correctly? All right? If you do that, you'll get all 3 marks. So again, very straightforward. Let's go to the next page. Our next object we're going to do is a rotation. Only this time we're going to rotate around the object's vertice. And we're going to be doing it around point B here. This is a vertice of a triangle. These are A, B, and C. And we're going to rotate this ABC around point B. So this is going to move this direction around like that. Right? So having done that, it's very straightforward. I want you to do this on your own and try it. So pause the recording and finish this off. Get out your tracing paper, and I need you to do what I'm going to be doing here. Make sure I don't mess up. Put your tracing paper on there. All right. Mark your pen or your A, your B, and your C. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to put a little A there, a little B, just to make sure you keep things straight. All right. Now remember, we're not rotating around the origin here. We're rotating around B. So this time, instead of putting the plus sign here, we're going to put it on the B right here. All right. See if I can make that move right perfectly. Okay. So now I'm going to take and rotate this. You'll see here, this is A prime. B is also B prime. And C prime is up here. So if you did this correctly, this turned 90 degrees, and those are our locations. So here's our new points. And often on my tests, I'm going to have you do this. I'm going to have you label or do all the work up here, and then I'm going to mark down here. I'm going to say, okay, what is your A prime? Is it correct? B prime correct. C prime, is it correct? And you'll get your 3 marks here. Sometimes I mark what's on here too, and it'll be in your instructions so you know what to do. Okay, for our next example, what we're going to be doing is a rotation, but this time the point for rotation, our rotation point, is not on a vertex, so it's not part of our original diagram. It is not the origin. Now it's a point outside. You see the little O here, and that mark right there at 1, 1, that's our rotation point. So this diagram is going to be going 270 degrees clockwise. So it's going to go from here, 90, 180, 270. Now I've given you a little bit of a hint that it's actually going to end up here. So this time I want you to take and do it yourself. Put your tracing paper on there and rotate this 270 degrees. Pause the recording and do that. Okay, now to do this, first thing we noticed is we have to do tracing paper. There we go, tracing paper. The next thing we noticed we have to do is we have to put in our plus minus, and that's going to be right through here. Plus minus. I call it plus minus. I don't know why. All right. Let's see if I can get that a little bit better lined up. Should use a narrower line. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We've got a tracing paper. We've got our plus sign here. We know we're going to be doing a rotation 270 degrees clockwise. Now, we also, if you wished, you don't have to do clockwise. You can do its partner, which is 90 degrees counterclockwise. I'll do it both ways to show you in a second here. All right, now I got to mark my X, Z, Y, W, X, Y, Z, and I got my plus. Everything looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take this, and we're going to do a rotation. Now the rotation, if you take a look, it's got to go around that point, so I'm going to have to keep my thing moving. It wants to go away from it. So here we go. I'm going to move this back up onto that point. Okay, so there's our 90 degree. Let's go to our 180. There's our 180. And now let's continue to our 270. And you notice here's my 3 points, 4 points actually. All right. Now, if you didn't want to do it that way, what you could have done is, let's go back up here, put this on its, instead of going 90, 180, 270, what you can do is do its partner, which is 90 degrees counterclockwise. So just move it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So there's my points here, 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 and here. So I'm going to get rid of this, and we can see where your points should have landed. Notice down here, the number right down here, you'll notice something happened. The W prime and the Y happen to land at the same location. There's no problem with that. It just means that Y is here and W prime is also here. Notice your X, Y, Z, everything is X, Y, Z. Look at this. All got prime marks, don't they? If I was doing this and marking this on a table, you would get a mark for this location, that location, that location, and that location. You'd also get a mark for labeling everything correctly. Now, sometimes what I do is I don't put the original one on here. I actually just give you the coordinate pairs for W, X, Y, Z. When that happens, this is going to get a mark, that's going to get a mark, and that's going to get a mark, and that's going to get a mark. So you'll see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then of course putting the prime on there, that's your 9th mark. So this would be out of 9 marks. And again, my new coordinates, you probably have to list them for me. W prime, X prime, Y prime, and Z prime. Okay, so hopefully you know how to do this now. If you have any questions, you can come see me at lunch. If not, watch the video again.